There we go. Mine's simple. I know there's some people that worked on repeaters. Does anybody in this group actually own one? A ham?
Yeah, I own 3 of them.
There you go. So I'm preaching to the choir for that one there. It can be fun. It can be frustrating. It can be a little bit of everything. Especially if it's on a mountain and there's lots of snow, which we have up here. Yeah, you got to deal with intermod. You got to deal with servicing. It seems like all the time on mine, and the ones I worked on, as soon as it starts snowing, then you had to service it, because otherwise you never touched it during the summer. My theory was, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And we do a little in the spring, a little preventative maintenance, and that was about it. But seems like when it snows, everything goes to heck in a handbasket. My repeater used to be up on Blossom Mountain, which is above Post Falls and below Idaho Mica. And actually, at the beginning, I've had this frequency. It's 147.22. I've had it probably, I'm going to guess, at least 30 years. And it's been coordinated. And initially, I had it in my garage on a tower just to get things rolling. And then I was part of the Cars Club in Coeur d'Alene, the Kootenai Amateur Radio Society, and they had a repeater up on Blossom. And so we kind of weaseled in with them. And we had our repeater in there, their repeater in there. We had, if you remember way back then, we had Packet, had Backbones up there. Another guy, what was Rick's call there, Murph?
I don't remember.
Okay, I couldn't remember his call either. But we had Packet up there. But, you know, the more stuff you have, the more complicated it gets, the more trips you're doing, the more drama you got to deal with. You know, everybody has an opinion on what it sounds like. And I learned very early on that you ask only a few trusted people what it sounds like, you know, if it's been improved or not. Because I've actually, way back then, gone up, didn't literally touch nothing, and then get on the air and ask, how does it sound now? And they say, oh, it sounds better. Never even touched a thing. So, you know, that gets kind of frustrating. But the bigger the mountain you are on, the more you got to deal with other commercial stuff, paging we had, everything. And about the time that we started our repeater, Bob's old alma mater there, that Kootenai Electric, we were actually on their site, but not in their building. And they had a converted back end of an ice cream truck, all metal, insulated, and that was their shack. And they were actually on low band at the time. And I serviced their radios, and we switched them over to VHF. And so then we brought up some more repeaters. Back then, when it was Rathdrum Fire, we had their repeater up there. We had EMS3 from Kootenai County. So we're getting more and more stuff up there, and you got to really deal with intermod and everything else. And let's see. And then I don't know when it was in the 90s somewhere, commercial radio, another commercial radio repair place, talked Kootenai Electric into kicking everybody off the mountain and build a hut up there and get rid of the ice cream truck and then rent it out to everybody. So that kind of ruined the fire got off, EMS got off, I got off, the Cars Club. They were there for a little while, but I think they eventually got off too. And the guy that owned the gate and the road, you know, he'd get in there and tear it all up and then ask us to help him pay to repair it, and it just got to be a mess. So my repeater got moved back down to Rathdrum for a while we were trying to find a new home. And so where it is now is I meant to get a map and put a pin in it, and I forgot to do it, I see. It's above Post Falls, below Blossom Mountain, and it's actually at a customer's house. And I'll show you a couple of pictures of it. But we got away from all that extra equipment, all that extra stuff, and we keep it simple. We used to have an auto patch up on there. We had lots of stuff, and keep it simple. And that's the way I believe right now. But the way the world's getting with digital and stuff, you can do a lot more. But we're staying analog and until it goes away. One of Mel's questions was, what would you like owners to know about? On my repeater, and don't ask me why, I have no idea. It's the only repeater I've ever touched in the world that when you let off the mic, you get the courtesy beep, your reset timer resets. On mine, it don't. You got to let the carrier drop. So there's been a few guys on here that's used it. You got to let the carrier drop for the 3-minute timer to reset. Any other repeater, you just get the courtesy beep. A lot of guys can get to it. Mine's kind of low level. I'm going to guess 800 feet above the prairie. It's up at a customer's in his shop, and I'll show it to you. But most of the time, some guys get on there in the wintertime, when you got nothing else to do and you're looking for DX, and Bob and Murph, Gary's been on there, Mark, and Mr. WWW. Oh, and speaking of that, Mr. WWW lives in a intermod void or zone or something, and he picks up a lot of intermod on my frequency that's not coming through the repeater. So if anybody has any problems with that, similar, I put 100 hertz tone on the transmitter, not on the receiver, just on the transmitter. So you can put that on your receiver and you won't have to listen to all that intermod.
And it works great, Jim. Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. And mine's an open repeater. There's no club, no nothing. Just whatever the FCC rules are, and no tone. And it's pretty shielded to the south. You can talk south a little bit depending on your setup, but it mainly shoots north about anywhere, and northwest, northeast. But I got the mountain to my back, so unfortunately I'm dead to the south. But it's a local repeater. It's quiet. That's the other nice thing I like is you get on some of these others and they're constant yakking, and not sure what else to say about it. Anybody can get on it. Like I said, during the winter, we use it for spotting DX. Guys will get on there and just spit out a spot verbally. And if you're monitoring, it works good. And sometimes a couple of us get on there and during a contest and razz each other and keep it alive. I'll show you a couple pictures. You're not going to believe this repeater. I've had Micor Mica or Motorola Micors for repeater. I had an ICOM at one time, mostly micro and 100 watters. This repeater, believe it or not, out to the antenna after the duplexers is like 20 watts. So it works surprisingly good for considering what you got. This is it. It's in the back of a shop, which you'll see. That's a Motorola. I assume you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Motorola DeskMate. And at one time, this used to be a Fire repeater at one time. And then on top's a Link Communications controller out of Montana. And in the back, there's all kinds of, you can hook up other radios. You can have 2 repeaters. You can have remote receivers, and you can link and program. I think the manual for this thing's like 300 pages long. And I just noticed this cable. I've been looking for that, and now I see where it is. It's on top of it. I'll tell you what that is. These duplexers are as old as I've had the frequency, over 30 years. And believe it or not, these were like, you can't touch them today. They were like $400. And I have never, ever touched any of the tuning. They've never been zapped by lightning. They've just been fantastic. In fact, up until this spring, I believe, or the fall, I can't remember which, I haven't even been up here and seen this thing in about 3 or 4 years. It's just turning and burning. So this is it in the back of a shop, sitting on a block of wood, plugged in, no battery backup. I had it at one time. There's really no need to. This is the view out the front door. I can see I'm looking north. There's Rathdrum Mountain, and behind these trees here is Highway 41 going from Post Falls to Rathdrum, and then Highway 95. This is my altitude, whatever it is. I forgot to, sorry about that. In the back, we put up, like, I think it's like a 21-foot piece of water pipe. And I've got this antenna here is 6 meters. And this one here is, or I'm sorry, this is 10 meters. And the one on the right is 2 meters, 6 meters. I believe I got that right. Merv helped me put this up. He donated a little bit too in one of the antennas. I don't remember which one. But I only using the 2 meter at the moment. And I'll tell you why. So here's the shop. I don't know, this is like 50, 80 feet long, 30 feet wide. There ain't nothing in it. A couple tires and whatnot. So I'm pretty lucky there. My original plans were, and that's what that cable is I showed you a minute ago. I was going to set up, I have a 706 that using that 13-pin connector in the back. During the 6 meter season, I was going to put it up and plug in the cable and you'd have 6 meter receive. So on the 2 meter, you could be monitoring 6 during the 6 meter season to know when the band was in and then work it accordingly. And then in the 10 meter season, same thing. I'd have to go up, switch frequencies though, and you can monitor 10 meters, know when the band was in. And then with a couple of touch tones, you could connect your 2 meter to the 6 or the 10. Well, the coaxes are ran, the antennas are there. Then I ended up putting the 706 in my truck. So that hasn't happened, but you never know someday. Can you see that picture?
Yes.
This is the early mid 80s. This big telephone pole here is Cooney Electric. I believe that's their VHF. This here is the back end of that ice cream truck was their shack. And I believe this was the EMS3 antenna at one time. You can't see it on here, but there's a couple other antennas. This here was the 146.98 repeater shack. And one side's 9.8. This one here, you can see the bottom of it is this 722 repeater antenna. And then this might have been before we put the 220 packet up here, but we had 220 antennas here. This slope used to have solar panels on it. About the time that I came along and took over repeater tech, I don't know if he was the president at the time or the technician. I won't mention his name because there's a big stink over it. He's not with us anymore anyway, but he stole the solar panels off of that, and the club lost out and they were actually belonging to the club. But there's not a lot of room in here, and that's where it was. So that's an old time picture. I don't have any pictures of inside or none of that. You know, we didn't have digital cameras then. I don't even know how I got this picture. I found it. So I don't have anything else to show you.